Welcome everybody to another episode of a yet unnamed podcast. Joining me today, we have the Honorable Lord Cyprian. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Mr. Stott?
I am okay. Currently, it's sweltering in my house because earlier today it was 30 degrees and now it's 77 degrees. So that's kind of fun. How are you in your neck of the woods?
It's fine. I think down here on the southern coast, it started cool and it's slightly warmer. Should be nice tomorrow. Sunny, 71.
Oh, that's a perfect day.
Yeah,
Perfect day in the neighborhood.
we get
And
one every 2 weeks.
yeah, yeah. We asked you here to talk about Gulf Wars, but I'm going to talk a little bit about some things happening in the kingdom first, and then we'll hit that. So first, this weekend was Candlemas. Did you get to go to Candlemas? I know
I
it's
did
far
not.
away from you.
Yeah, I did not get to go. I ended up taking some classes at the Atlantean University on perfuming.
Oh, awesome. And you're teaching a class after this? Or did you already, was that you went to the class? Is
I
that
went to
what?
the classes, yeah.
You went to the class. Well, hopefully you can share that information for us at some later date. Well, Candlemas had a lot of excitement leading up to it. They had to change locations. Hats off to the crew. They were able to get a new location. And at the event, they had two elevations. Sir Nicholas was elevated to the Order of the Chivalry. And then Master Ogden was elevated to the Order of the Pelicans. So congratulations to them. And then one thing I noticed online was there was a lot of activity about newcomers coming. So there was two or three people. There was somebody on Facebook named Nikki. Shout out Nikki. It was her first event. So congratulations. And then Master Randolph mentioned a couple people that it was their first event as well. So that's exciting to get new people in. All right, so let's dig into why you are here. You are a companion of the Queen's Silver Blade, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And you are also the general of the Great Ram Rapier Army.
I am.
Awesome. Now, what does that involve?
Well, that involves I will command the field. The Rapier Army in Gleann is small but mighty. So a lot of times we will just like many of our Gleann forces, we are attached to who we are aligned to. And I'm not sure who we're aligned to yet. I don't know if it's been announced or worked out yet. It's only their support Insti or Trimaris and then I'll command along some line commanders and just go over the tactics, and we'll try to win those war points.
Well, and I'm sure you will do an excellent job. Now, I do want to back it up a little because I saw on Facebook an interesting post, and I'm going to put it up there and just ask you what was going on here at this. It's going to take me a second. What is going on right there? Can you see it?
I see.
Oh.
Yeah. So, Her Majesty Sophia had a new award called the Spirit of the Queen's Champion, which was someone that embodied the spirit of the Queen's Champion, someone that was enthusiastic, took all comers, because they had opened up the all the previous Queen's champions to lead an instruction and teach.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize what was going on. I mean, I knew the best people in Doire were on the field, but so I challenged all of them, kind of pulled a D'Artagnan, where I rolled into town, challenged all the best fighters, and well, I mean, it kind of went how you expect it to go,
but you were impressive nonetheless
right.
because this was a new award, and were you the first person to receive?
Yeah, I was the premier of the Spirit of the Queen's Champion. I don't want to diminish the honor, but if you you can compare it to the miscongeniality on a pageant. I did not win, but
Right.
I am the premier miscongeniality.
Well, and I would argue for me, that's what the whole SCA is about. It's about how you present yourself in your honor. And while it may not be technically the winner, it is what our game is about. And I think we need more of it. I think that's very exciting. And you represented Gleann in the best way possible, grabbing that premiere of their new award.
So yeah, it was a huge honor. Just the tournament alone, the Queen's Champion had 55 Rapier fighters.
Holy schmoly.
And there was at least 10 or 11 non-combatants, like the most of the former Queen's Champions weren't competing. They were teaching.
Right.
Now they scheduled time for pickups in between like the first rounds, which was like 6 pools and 10 fighters. It was insane. And then they had like pickup scheduled in the middle of the day. And then they had the finals, and I was just like, what is going on? Hats off to the list mistress. That was insane, but it ran smoothly. So,
well, that is awesome, and congratulations.
Yeah.
Don't sell yourself short. That's a really huge honor. So congratulations. Okay, so now let's talk all things Gulf Wars, in at least in dealing with Rapier. So what would be like your number one thing to tell people right now as they're getting ready for Gulf Wars?
All right. So most importantly, no authorizations are being done by any kingdom at Gulf Wars.
Okay.
If you're not authorized, or if your authorization has lax, you have to find a Rapier authorization marshal and get that paperwork cleared up, because they're checking fighter cards. And you don't want to go and pay for war and then just not be able to fight.
Right. And how long does the process take? Does it happen immediately if you need to reauthorize?
Reauthorizations are super fast.
Okay.
Just authorization isn't a measure of skill; it's a measure of safety.
Right. Okay. Excellent. And where's there going to be Rapier fighting on? Because I haven't been in a number of years. So where is there a dedicated Rapier field? Is it all over the place, just depending?
Well, most of the Rapier fighting is done at what they call the Rapier field. It's adjacent to where they set up live weapons sometimes. And kind of wedged between that field and equestrian, you'll see a pavilion set up toward the back there.
Okay, and then they just have to catch up with the schedule. Now, I went I'm going to share my screen again. I hope you're going to pop up for a minute. There you are. And then I'm going to go here. Nope, not yet. Okay, so I went to the Gulf War site, and this is all under, so if you go to home and then you go to fighting, these are all the rules. Should they become familiar with this? Is there anything different that might be different for from Gleann that we change for war?
No. A lot of the conventions will change. We will allow spears in melee, but that is negotiating the crowns, and they've decided no spears for Rapier melee.
Okay. All right, so that's kind of important.
But we will do melee pickups, and so bring your spears.
So you can do pickups, but not for the melees.
Yeah, no spears and war points.
Okay, excellent. Well, let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about the difference between war points and no war points. How does that work? How do they decide? If you know, I don't know.
All right, so there are certain, even though there are no enemies, there are still people trying to win war.
Yes.
Just like the Civ, we have a field battle, a fort battle, and a ravine battle.
Okay.
Yeah. There may be a few war points. There a few more war points, but those are the 3 major melee battles. And the field battle is done by so the Rapier field is divided into 2 large erics, and so there's a shared field next to it that will line up and do the Rapier melees. The fort battle is done over by the fort.
obviously. And then the Ravine Battle.
Yes, that is a true measure of endurance. The ravine is adjacent to 5 Points,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a big hill. The hardest part of the ravine battle is walking back to the res point.
I was gonna
Or
say it's
running
a
back
it's a
to the
not a reservation. It's a resurrection battle, correct?
Yeah, it's a resurrection battle,
And
and
how long about does it last?
it
Do you
seems forever, but but it's not long. Especially it's depending on the scenario. If it's capture the flag, depends on the sides. They don't last long, but the res points are uphill.
Uphill, fun. Always fun. Okay. So Glenavon has a couple special rapier tournaments. Would you like to talk about those and tell us what's in store there?
Right. So the Queen Silver Blades, the Glenavon GOA level rapier fighters, they host a newbie tournament. It's normally on Tuesday, the same day as court.
Okay.
And in the same day we marshal. So we like to keep everything on the same day.
Makes sense.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so is that for people who have never won a tournament or?
So it's never won a tournament and authorized less than 1 year.
Okay.
So you have
and
a year
then
you get to get into your newbie.
Right. Okay. And the other one that involves rapier is the diamond tournament, correct?
There are so the diamond tournament does include rapier. That's kind of like a rapier civ matchup,
Right.
like a pairs. I consider that one like a failed analogy is a Pokemon tournament. Like they throw out their best and they fight.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. And then is there a rose tournament as well that's for the not necessarily just Glenavon?
Right. So the largest rapier tournament at Golf Wars is the Rose tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Normally a minimum 100 people. It hasn't actually happened the last it didn't happen in the last couple of wars.
Oh, well, it probably will happen this one. I hope we have a huge turnout.
Right. It almost well, yeah, weather can't like so. And the last two couple of times, it was just it's scheduled for Wednesday, and then they reschedule it to Friday, and then it normally rains on Friday.
Right. And is that a single limb, double limb?
It all depends on the number of tournaments. Normally, it's 2 fights.
Right.
It's a actually it's a single elimination best of 2 out of 3.
Okay.
And it's so many people, you just grab your opponent and your rows, which is kind of cool. There's lots of pageantry. Your rows either bring your rows to the field, or you bring a letter of intent from your rows.
Oh, okay.
And the roses meet each other, you introduce, and they watch you fight. It's all random, so you can get paired with people, and we encourage everyone to fight, so you can get paired with all levels of fighter. And
Right.
You just grab your opponent and your roses and a marshal, and just go off into a field, have your fight, and then you report back. So
Well, with 100 people, potentially over 100 people, you have to kind of, and once again, hats off to the list mistresses for being able to keep up with all of that insanity.
It's wild.
It is wild. Now, you sent me something that I also want to talk about because I have some questions. We're going to try and be quick. But I would like to know, nope, wrong one again. I'm just going to get that picture up as maybe I didn't share it yet. Okay, there we go. So you sent me this. This is another battle that is coming up, but it has some really cool things. Now, something that I personally like when watching the rapier is the pageantry of it, and sometimes it's just crazy. Honestly, you never know what you're going to get. So how do you train for best insult if you're trying to win that? When do you throw them out there? How does that work?
Right. So I like to read the Shakespearean comedies, because basically all Shakespeare wrote is basically well respected, but it's mostly a dirty joke, a continuous dirty joke. Like Taming of the Shrew.
Right.
There's more insults in that book than there is like actual dialogue.
And so you just you do a little pre-reading. Do you have some in store that work for anybody? Do you just fly them off the cuff, or do you go in like with a game plan for that?
Right. So you try to keep them above the belt, but short swords are fun to point out. Uh, a lack of kit is kind of fun because
Oh, okay.
it's a bunch of rapier fighters, and by default we're kind of peacocky.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
So you have some just standards that you can pull at any time. And
Mhm.
who judges this? Like who's putting this one on? Hosted by the
The
Renaissance Village. So I'm assuming that they will have
right,
a
so they'll have a series of judges, and similar to the they are the on-site equivalent or opposite of the early life.
Mhm.
Uh, so they're like the opposite side of the
The
SCA,
later period.
the later period, and so they're
Okay.
just they're being late period.
And that goes into the most flamboyant, I guess, with your kit and just how you act and all
Yes.
sorts of stuff. And then what is I've heard this word used,
Hmm.
skullduggery. What
Yeah,
exactly as is that?
that's dirty pool. That
Oh,
is being underhanded and sneaky. Yeah. Also, the
okay.
reason why rapier was fought so much in the West because they thought we were recreating sleaze uh, and so we were creating like recreating like the worst parts of so we were doing back alley duels
Right. And so
and
that's why it became
skullduggery.
popular out there.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of fun. That's kind of exciting to watch. I think that was on the 13th. So if anybody's interested in that, go check that out. Is there anything else you would like to add about Gulf Wars that we need to make sure that we're looking for or that they should do?
No, come see me if you're interested in being a line commander. If you got a nice herald voice, we need you to like say words that don't rhyme with hold.
That's a very
That's the hardest
that
part
is
of being a
probably one of the best pieces of advices I've ever heard. That's
right.
awesome. Well, and if you don't mind, we will post your contact information to this
Sure.
video. And if anybody needs to get in touch with you, they can. I don't really want to do it right here,
Mhm.
just to make sure. Um, Great. Okay, well, if you're curious, we're filming this on February 5th. We have 1 month and 6 days before Gulf Wars.
I have so much to do.
I realized I'm going to be wearing 3 outfits over and over and over again because I'm not sure where all of my clothes went. So, but in between there, we have Cracked Anvil in Arkansas. So if you
Yeah.
can go to that, and
Yeah.
then Fighters Collegium. Will there be a contingency at Fighters Collegium for Rapier?
Yes, there will be a fighter collision, there will be authorizations being done, and you can also call them Rams, which are the rapier authorization marshals, and we call them SAMs, which is a spear authorization marshal.
Oh,
So if
okay.
you're interested in authorizing a rapier spear, which is a separate authorization,
Hmm.
please come to Fighter Collegium. And also, if you're coming to one of those events and you're not sure there's going to be a marshal, just reach out on the Gleann Rapier page,
Okay.
and we'll try to arrange a marshal to be there
Well,
because
oops, sorry, go ahead.
no, that was it.
Okay. Well, that's pretty good. I've seen a lot of rapier activity in my area, in the Ardenroe area. I think they're trying to
Oh
build
goodness, yeah.
some people. That would be Kashmir, his
Hmm.
group.
Yeah,
We won't
that's
talk about the upcoming Civil War.
yeah. So yeah, Ardenroe is actually one of the major growth spots of Rapier. And they're kind of in a kind of like a dead zone as far as like the closest Queen's Blade is kind of like in Trollfin and Little Rock.
Oh,
So it's
they're quite a bit away, so they're kind of
yeah. So Master Esteban has actually been having them post videos of their fighter practice so he
mhm.
can give them pointers remotely. So one of the benefits of the pandemic and lockdowns, we figured out how to do almost everything, including rapier instruction remotely.
but you know, it helps out so much when there's not somebody close and they
Mhm.
are having a lot of excitement and you don't want to squelch that. So if
Mhm.
that's a possibility, that's fantastic to use that. So Fighters Collegium is on the 26th. Cracked Anvil is on the 5th. And that's it. I think we're good. If you're good, if you
I'm good.
we will see you. I'm planning on authorizing in combat archery so I
Awesome.
can get on the field this Gulf Wars and shoot a few people.
Yeah, I keep asking, like, hey, what if we get some low power crossbows? And it would be great to add combat archery to the rapier field. But
Well,
since we are not as heavily armored,
yeah.
it hurts a bit more if we're hit with the full power of a combat archer.
Yeah, something says that that could be a little bit dangerous, but you know, things are always changing and evolving. So who knows what they're going to come up with, and that's exciting. So
Yeah.
hey, let's
We just
try and
got
make that
to,
happen.
yeah, we just passed that spear experiment. Now it's society wide, so
Yeah, I
everything.
don't think I have seen that yet. So I'm interested in seeing that.
Yeah, spear is great because a lot of Civ are crossing over because the Civ are well versed in spear, right?
Right.
So
Right. Well, some
they're like, it's like, hey, I can jump over to Rapier and use a spear, and
mhm.
they're so any access point for recruitment, I am all for.
Well, I think you're doing an awesome job. And if there's anything that social media can do to help out, please let us know. Okay, everybody, that's going to wrap up our time here on another edition of Yup. Stay tuned for our next episode. Hopefully, we will be talking to one of the heavy weapons generals. See ya. Oh, I just got caught. Let's see
Uh,
ya.
yeah. Cheers.